Hello, my name is Nina. Welcome to my channel, Inside the Mind of a Human Predator. I wanted to make a seemingly narrowly focused video regarding selecting an attorney for those of you who are on their paths to freedom via the legal process of divorce. The reason I wanted to make this video is the fact that there's a lot of bad advice out there on otherwise cogent channels coming from personalities who otherwise dispense very useful advice, and sometimes, by the virtue of their profession, even testify in court. I suspect the reason they are handing out this advice is the fact that they did not have to personally deal with the process, so they may not understand the full extent of what they are dealing with on a personal level. Now, as a disclaimer, as usual, I am neither a psychologist nor a legal professional. I am here in my personal capacity, sharing the wealth of information I have gathered by dealing with maladaptive personalities and also going through the legal process myself. So before I get into it, I do want to say that it gets amazingly better on the other side, and I treat this as basically healing an illness. You would probably spend anything to be healthy, as much as it sucks to spend a lot of money on the process. So this is something that you should pursue because your freedom and your ability to lead a healthy, normal life once again is worth anything and everything. So the bad advice that I'm referring to is to interview attorneys and ask them this one question. And this one question is, do you deal with high conflict situations? Now, if they are an attorney with any length of experience, chances are they have dealt with high conflict situations, whether it's family court or small claims court with neighbor disputes. By definition, toxic personalities dominate these scenarios. So this will tell you absolutely nothing about the experience of the said professional regarding the very particular psychodynamics of dealing with someone with a long-term pervasive maladaptive pattern of behavior. On top of that, some attorneys may be unscrupulous and they will perceive you as a cash cow if right off the bat you will be informing them that this is going to be a very drawn out process because it's high conflict and you may or may not have the finances to fund it, but this is how they will perceive you. And of course, I'm not making a general statement about all attorneys, only certain attorneys that may abuse the process by knowing that there is money to be made. So, what should you do instead? Number one, you should go to your local domestic violence shelters, contact victim advocates, and question them regarding attorneys in your area that would be capable of representing you. Why is this a good idea? Well, first, the victim advocates will understand the dynamics of what they're dealing with more so than your generic attorney. So they would be able to recommend a particular attorney who understands the cycle of abuse, the trauma bond, dealing with a toxic personality, and so on and so forth. Number two, they may know attorneys who work either for charitable organizations or for state-funded organizations. So these attorneys will, in the best case scenario, may be able to represent you pro bono if your finances are extremely limited, or they may work on a pay scale. These attorneys are also perhaps ideological, so they would be looking at the greater picture of domestic abuse and domestic violence, dealing with toxic personalities and so on and so forth, which will also be very helpful to your case. The second thing you should do is speak to those in your area, friends, acquaintances that have gone through the process themselves. They would be able to recommend attorneys as well, especially if they understand, once again, the dynamics of dealing with a highly maladaptive personality and the types of things that these personalities may pull along the way. And the third bit of advice is the one that I have not seen anywhere. Nonetheless, it's actually quite useful, and this may end up saving you a lot of money in the long run, especially if you live in smaller communities. You should go and interview several attorneys and ask them about who would best represent you. Now, if a certain name comes up more than once, there is a good probability that this is someone you should look into and research and interview yourself. Now, a consultation with an attorney, even for a half hour, is costly. Attorneys get paid hundreds of dollars an hour. So for you to go and interview a number of attorneys looks like a significant financial investment. However, if you look at the full process, you may save yourself a lot of money by selecting the correct attorney. Because without that research, selecting an attorney could be a crapshoot, and you're in the process of establishing the parameters of your future life, especially if there are children involved. So it's very important to select as good of an attorney as possible. Now, the issue of financial abuse is something that largely goes unmentioned, unspoken, even though it is absolutely prevalent, and where it's especially prevalent is in family court and divorce court. If you are trying to legally remove yourself from a maladaptive personality with a long-term harmful pattern of behavior, narcissistic, psychopathic, antisocial, and so forth, and that personality has deeper pockets than you, then by definition, he or she will try to use the system to drain your resources, especially if you are declaring your finances honestly and this person knows that your finances are very limited. There are so many ways to make you lose money on filing needless motions to which you're forced to respond, on trying to hammer out agreements that seem to be going in the right direction, and at the very last moment that will go against that agreement after you've spent thousands of dollars on paying your attorney to actually iron out the details. So this is one of the most prevalent cases of financial abuse of targets of those toxic personalities that I have been discussing on this channel. So it's very important to save yourself some money and find an attorney that will actually work for you and will limit your expenses to the best of your ability and to the best of their ability. Now, the last thing that I wanted to mention is the fact that some individuals in this general self-help field with removing yourself from a toxic situation with a narcissistic or psychopathic personality in a legal case recommend going pro se, that is representing yourself in court. I would be very careful with doing that. Obviously, there are cases where the target simply has no resources, no family to help with resources, and no attorneys in the area that could work out a pay scale for them or some kind of a organization that would work pro bono. And then you're forced to do that. You're forced to go to legal clinics, go for advice to your attorney friends in other states and areas where they cannot help you locally, etc., etc. But I would be very careful with this particular situation because you might be the most eloquent person, you may be highly educated, you may actually be very stress-proof. But if the opposing side, who is maladaptive and who wants to destroy you in court, has hired a shark of an attorney or multiple attorneys, an entire firm, and they have deep pockets, it would be very difficult for someone who is not a professional to go up against a shark of an attorney who is used to destroying the opposing side in court. So I would be very careful, and I understand there are sometimes situations where there is no choice but to represent yourself. And as a final thought, I would say that a lot of us go into this process completely naive. We've never had to deal with attorneys or any other kinds of legal professionals before. And the one important thing to keep in mind, and this certainly was my mistake, I did not do this in some cases, is to research as many of the professionals that are working on your case as possible. Don't trust reviews online. Look into their background for whatever is available publicly. So This could be a custody investigator. This could be a judge who will be hearing your case. Some hearings are public. You can go and listen to the hearing. You can talk to other attorneys and get your opinion of the judge or that custody investigator. So get as many different opinions from as many people as possible and as much public information as possible to actually be well prepared for what could be a drawn out process. So I wish you luck. It gets so much better on the other side. Please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.